home cooking. I am making butter pecan scones. Okay, this is going to be for breakfast with scrambled eggs tomorrow. So this is our breakfast tomorrow morning. We are going to have to take your shelf that's usually in the middle of the oven. I want you to move it up to the upper third. In other words, I'm not saying to the very top, but it's got to be in the upper third of your oven because you have a third on the bottom, a third in the middle, and a third on top. That's what they want you to do, is get in that third of the upper part of the. Okay, a lot of people say, are you talking about broiled? No. It's actually, usually most of the time in the oven, it's just one level up, which I did. I just went up one level. And that takes me to the 1/3 part of the oven, because the oven's always divided up into thirds. Now, you need a couple pecans, and we're going to have these. I'm chopping these right now. But this is going to be breakfast with scrambled eggs tomorrow. You know. So in a frying pan, you're going to need a tablespoon of butter. We'll get to that in a bit. We're just getting some stuff done. I mean, if you're going to eat, like I always tell everybody, eat and enjoy it. Bless the food and enjoy it, because the animals die for us and the plants are giving us food. So we should always bless it and be thankful for it. They want you to set the oven at 400. This is why you're moving it up to that upper third, because it's going to be a very hot oven that we're going to be cooking with. All right, we're going to light this butter up. I'll get you over here soon enough. I'm sorry I can't do it any better than this. Just doing the best I can. Like I said, I have a very small area I work in. So getting you to come around and all is difficult sometimes. All right, now we are going to sit there and cook these pecans in the butter. But the thing is you don't want it over a very high flame, or you're going to burn them. We want to bring out that beautiful buttery taste of the pecan. I don't have to do anything. So throw everything on the table. Let me get you over here and try not to break the egg that you're sitting next to, because I need the egg as well. So let's just put that there for now. So we're not going to burn the butter, and we're not going to burn the nuts. Now it's going to take about 2-3 minutes to do this, but you'll smell it. You'll actually be able to smell that you're looking for. It will have a buttery smell, and you'll say, no, it's nuts. Yes, it'll really have a slight buttery taste, and you can taste, you can actually smell them. You can't taste them. We're cooking them right now. If you eat them like this, they have like a dry taste to them. and you don't really taste the butter. But once you heat them up, that pecan flavor really comes out nicely, and that's what we're working on. And then we'll get to the batter and take care of that and get everything going. See, if you can't understand what I'm trying to say about the smell. Smell the pecans before you heat them up, and then smell them after, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. Hi, Eric. Yes, I'm usually on the morning, but this is for breakfast for tomorrow morning, and since I'll be doing wash tomorrow morning, I'm really not going to have a lot of time to do this. And when I finish this, I have to get that crust ready for the quiche tomorrow. But only people who join will actually get to see me to make that. So just subscribers aren't. Because it's how we're going to make it, which is the cute part about it. You want it in a plate? All right. Oh yeah, you can smell the nuts. So never ever use a high flame when you're toasting your nuts, even if there's butter. And guys, keep your dirty minds out of the kitchen. Because my husband used to say something when I did this. So I figured these scones are going to be nice for breakfast, the scrambled eggs tomorrow morning. Now you can have it with coffee, or you can have it with tea. I don't think tea would be that great with it. I know milk will go excellent with this. Coffee would be nice. No, you wouldn't need bacon or sausage. But I will be making breakfast sausage again. I used all 3 pounds. So I bought 3 pounds again so I can make it again. Because I like the way I make sage breakfast sausage better than the way they make it. Because I like more flavor in mine and not so much of the fat. And then I could sit there and make biscuits and gravy. Okay, you can smell these. Hold on, I'm going to put them on a plate, get them out of the pan, and then we'll finish working with them and then get the scones going. Okay, I got to put you back here again. Behind everything, I apologize. All right, we need 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, and you're going to put on these, which is 1/2 of 1/4. And the same amount of cinnamon, 1/8, which which is half of 1/4. I know my fractions well. All because of Miss Wilson. God bless that lady. She was really good. She made us memorize everything. And like I said, you might not understand it now, but you will later. She just made sure we had it down. Everybody who was in her class had no problem with math. They were very good in their math. And she made us memorize it. And then when we got older and further in school, we knew exactly why. Oh, what an unusual way of doing this. All right, we have to put these to the side to cool. Anything else you want me to do? Sugar. Oh, you want that too? Okay. And the sugar too. 1/8. Well, that'd be a little hard. Okay. More sugar on mine, but I'll do that. Hi, Becca. All right, now we're moving to a bowl. Yeah, we're moving to a bowl now. I really need this cookbook up here. You can go over here with the fan. Stay cool. All right, now in the flour, they want 1.5 cups of flour. I am going to use, part of that is going to be whole wheat flour, because that's what I do. I always make things more nutritious. I need the all-purpose flour. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to put 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Then I'll add 1/4 cup of whole wheat, which will come out to 1 1/2. What else do you want in here? I know you want the sugar in here. And 1/3 cup of sugar. And they'll want 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Half a teaspoon of salt. Yeah, I've got things spread out today. And you want 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. I think I should buy some cinnamon. I am running out. Okay, now what do you want me to do with this? us to mix this. I'm sorry. Yes, I am hyper. Hi, George from Chicago. Now we have how much butter left? They want 4 tablespoons of butter in here. And we make it with a pastry knife. 1, 2, 3, 4. I know I'm supposed to be doing it on a cutting board. Shh, don't tell anybody. Now women have used 2 knives, they've used a fork, they've used their hand to mix the butter to make it flaky. They've also used a pastry cutter. But let's do it the old-fashioned way this time. We'll use our hands. And we'll break this butter up with our hands and make this flaky, which is different. If I can break the butter up. Of course, they don't stick their butter in the freezer. Sandra does. That's why I left it out for a few minutes. Why do they always want the oven on so early? I can see 15 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to have to work this for a bit. You don't want me to break it up. I'll cut you up. Now you take it with your fingers. For you people who do not have frozen butter like me, use your fingertips and you smash the butter between your fingers as you work the flour and stuff. And what it does is it will bring it to that point. It takes longer. If you don't have a pastry cutter, you can do it like this and get away with it. Okay, it's just going to take me a little time because my butter is frozen. When it's frozen, it doesn't give easy. But I'll work it and show you how it does get flaky. Oh, God. That's what I get for cutting my nails, too. Because as the butter gets soft and you work it, you'll find little pieces going throughout it, and then it gets flaky this way. So there's many different ways of doing this. I show you different ways. So if you can't afford the equipment, you can work it other ways. It's a little more work. The one thing I would recommend if you're going to make mayonnaise is get a hand mixer. Okay, that one I would recommend. I've tried that by hand. It took a whole lot of us to get just the mayonnaise made. Okay, now my butter's melting. Or at least it's getting in small pieces so you can see that it's going to be done up just any other way. This is how women had to do it many, many years ago. But I haven't even added the baking powder in here, and you haven't even asked for it, but I think I'm going to put it in now. Yeah. I'm not going to do it when they say it. We're going to add 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. Haven't added it yet. So we're going to add it. I'll mix it up, don't worry. So when you add the flour and stuff, add the baking powder with it. I told you I have recipes. Sometimes I wonder where they get their ideas from. Okay. See how it's crumbling up? Yes, I have. Jason. Yes, I have. Simplify, George. Uh, Tive. Hi. So you can see the butter. See how you can crumble it up with your hands? If you don't have the other stuff, you can do it that way. You use your fingers. So when you put the flours together, put the baking powder in then. Like I said, I do it my way. I'm going to change it around anyway. So see, with your hands, you don't always have to have all the equipment. See, you can do it by hand as well. There's just different ways of doing it. All right, pineapple upside down. Yeah, I've made a pineapple upside down cake. My family's not overly fond of that one. My girlfriend, I think she said she made a strawberry upside down. She gave me the recipe, I think, and I found another one. It's an apple upside down cake. So there seems to be more than just one. All right, now what do you want us to do? Okay, we need another bowl. Of course we need another bowl. We're going to be whisking liquids together. How much? Yeah, I'm going to do it this way. As you can see, I keep on changing this. All right, we need an egg. And if you can't see everything, I do apologize. It's just this, I don't have any room here. And we need a teaspoon of vanilla. And we're going to need, how much? 6 tablespoons of heavy cream. When they say heavy cream, they mean whipping cream. I had to buy this morning. So it's 6 tablespoons. All right. We're going to be using more heavy cream. Don't worry, that's not the end of it. Oh, today in the store, we were talking in the store. Remember when the prices were? I needed some apricots, right? I went to buy apricots. They had 2 prices. One was $14.99. Small container. I'll show you. No, that's about the same size container, but they said organic on it. Okay? Then they had another one. Sunsweet apricots. You see the size? This is a 1-pound container of apricots. Would you like to know how much that costs? I asked my son, who had worked at the store years ago. He said, Mommy, maybe $2, $3 max. Maybe he said extreme would be $4. You know how much I paid for that? $12.49. I'm putting this into the flour mixture. We're supposed to mix this up. Until almost combined. Well, we're coming close to that. Okay, so that was expensive. I have never paid that much in all my life. I've shopped at Shahadi's and gotten them cheaper, and I could buy them by the pounds. Just tell them how many pounds I wanted, because it was loose, and I could get as much as I wanted. Now they want us to add 3/4 of a cup of the toasted pecans. So back to the pecans again. Well, okay. We're gonna have a little bit to go on top. Now what do you want? The dough just until combined and loose, crumbly dough comes together. Well, we're going to hope it comes together. We're still working on that part. Just about. Got just a little bit down on the bottom. Turn out lightly floured and shape into 6-inch diameter, about 3/4. I'm using a sharp knife. Okay. We got that. I am going to have to clean up here just a bit. I've never made this. This is a new recipe. This sounds too good to bypass for breakfast. Flour. We need parchment paper too. Okay. From England, Jonathan. Hi. Murray, hi. Filsimi? Tivy? I think I said that right. Maybe not. Anyway. We know that's 10. I don't know why they want me to put it here. This is the last place I would think. Why can't I do it on the parchment paper? Okay. You know, I just went shopping. I don't have room for that. Look, some of you nuts are going to come off. You want it like in about a 6-inch circle, okay? Keep washing my hands because of what they're telling me I have to do. Okay. These are small, but they're going to be rich. That's going to be the thing that's going to get everybody. It's just how rich they're going to be. Want a sharp knife, right? We'll use a biscuit cutter. They always do excellent jobs. They want us to cut this into 6 wedges, all right? Now, biscuit cutter. I mean pizza cutters. This is where they come in handy. Really, really handy. Get some flour on it. You can cut this so easy with these things. See what I mean? I love pizza cutters when it comes to this. All right, you've got 6 pieces here. Parchment paper. Okay. You can use a cookie sheet or whatever you want. But we need parchment paper on it. Let's see if you'll tear. Didn't do it before. And you're just going to set it on that cookie sheet. You have to fold it under some. Go ahead. I'll turn you a bit so you can see what I'm doing. See, I knock you down all the time. Don't you just love me for that? I throw you everywhere. Stay put for a minute. Well, I put my finger in that one. I didn't mean to, but it happened. There are a lot of nuts in this one, so this is going to be why it's going to be interesting. How you have it for breakfast. Now that we've cut them and we've got them there, all right, they want you to get a tablespoon of cream. When they say cream, they're talking about the heavy cream, okay? And we're going to brush them with heavy cream. I'm making a real mess here. I think it was a spoon I set you on. That one is where my finger went into it, so it's a little deformed. See, you wouldn't get knocked over so much if I just had more room, but it's just casualties of cooking. They have casualties of war. I have casualties in kitchen. Okay, now what do you want on them? Don't you dare slide off because you're paper. And you can put these in the refrigerator before you cook them up to 12 hours if you have to. All right, that's a choice, if you wish to or not. All right. Minutes, 28. All right, nobody at 28. So if you wish to put them in the refrigerator and then cook them tomorrow morning, you can. Put the cream on them tomorrow morning. Don't put it on now, but I'm putting mine on now because I'm cooking them right away. I won't have time for tomorrow. I'm just going to clean up my mess. Edward, hi. At Lil, hi. Glenda, hi. No chat. What do you want to talk about? Topic? Is there something that you wish to talk about? Let's see if you didn't then. Sometimes you guys bring up the topic that we're going to talk about. Sometimes I read something and I'll tell you something that I see and what I think about it. I mean, you can disagree with me. There's no problem there. But if you're going to be rude and not understand that we all don't think alike, then there's no reason talking to people. Okay, we got the maple syrup. I don't think I need the baking powder anymore. Hi, Judy. Glenda seems to want to have a chat, but she doesn't tell me what she wants to talk about. So it's a little vague. But would make more sense if she had something on her mind she wished and we could talk. Maybe you two will have one day where volumes come through. We all will be talking to each other instead of typing it out. We can have different points of view. I need butter. Let's see. No, we need no more butter. Okay, we put this in the freezer. Now this recipe better come out, because if it doesn't, I am going to be really one angry female. Glenda, you're being so quiet. You want a conversation? What kind of conversation do you want? Oh God, I got dough everywhere. When you guys fell, you hit everything. Ooh. Mm-hmm. All right, clean your neck. Clean your feet. Yeah, I put you directly in the dough. I really messed you up. Oh, Lord, have mercy on me and this mess that I made. I can tell you, some people got angry with me. The young people really got angry with me. See, the reason I make a comparison is that we were given basics, and after that, we had to make the rest. Today, you depend too much on that computer to do. You have an idea, and you have the computer play it out. We didn't have that. Our computer, we were taught, was this. So we had to think it out and make it work for us. Too many people depend upon the computer to lay things out. Before, we had to lay it out. I mean, I tore to make this motif, to make this bedspread. It took me, God, a good while to get it together, the pattern to get it to work. And then I forgot how I put it together. That is so typical of me. I created it and I didn't write it down. Now I have 2 other bedspreads I have to mend. And I cannot remember the pattern because I didn't write it down. But I created it and it came out of my head. This is where we did not depend upon drawing it on the computer to see how it looked. We had to take the materials and we'd have a sample, like if I'm crocheting, I take old threads that I have enough and I just start figuring it out as I go along. But today, you use the computer and draw it out. Now, I remember something that we used to have as a child. I don't know if the young people are aware of this. God, I really messed this up. Let me see if I can turn. Yeah, I got you turned. Okay. It was 2 knobs. It came with a screen, and it would go horizontal and vertical. If we wanted to go sideways, we had to work those 2 knobs to make it go sideways. And we used to design on. That was like our first computer for us. But it was fun. This is like draw a house with an X and never go over the line. You can't go over a line that you've already drawn. Well, we know how to do that because this was our computer. We had to figure it out. But the computers of today, this A1 and everything, there's no real creativity of people. And they're not given the foundations. And one state is refusing to teach the children math, English, or history, or literature. And why do you want them to go to school? Learn how to punch buttons? That's not going to work. Parents used to teach their children, but they knew, and their children would build on it each generation. This is why I sit there and say, I wouldn't want the young people today to come through and have them as my parent. I really worry about it. until parents start taking back. Like, I did not know that there is a law that states have to honor each other's rules, and it goes across board, which was interesting. And I think it's Missouri, I'm not sure, that states that you cannot keep the parents out of decisions and stuff with their children, because parents are responsible for the children. If the state wants the children, then women should just have them and leave them at the government door. You know, you want to raise them yourself then. And somehow I found out, he said under the amendment that one state has to honor another state's laws if it comes to, I don't know how the whole thing works. I was listening to it, and I said, that is very, very interesting. I like that, to honor. But right now, so many states are doing independent of each other, I don't think any of them know where they're headed. And that's just a personal opinion. Anna, I grew up in a small town. My parents weren't there 24/7 on my tail. But if I went to my girlfriend's, her mother knew my mother. And if I went to town, it's a small town, so we could walk to town, there were parents that knew my parents. It was such a small town, everybody knew everybody. So everybody had on the children. You couldn't get away, as we used to say, we couldn't get away with murder. So unless there was a single mother, and she had a child, and she was working, and we went to that child's house, and if we stayed indoors, the trouble we could get into. Okay? But in the metropolitan area here, they sit there and have children with phones. I saw one little girl on the subway, and it was after school, and I said, young lady, and she got nervous when I talked to her. I said, look, I'm going to tell you right now, you don't talk to anybody, don't talk to me. I'm just going to tell you, when you get off this train, you go straight home, make sure the door is locked, and you call your mommy and let her know you're home. And she nodded her head, and when she got off the train, man, she zipped to head home. I just told her, I don't want anything happening to you. But you don't have that. These children are left alone. But in a small town, everybody knows everybody. You can't get away with murder, as they say. You're going to get busted. You're going to get caught no matter what you do. You cannot hide. As much as you would like to hide, it's not going to work. And a lot of parents, because of the broken up of the family, it's such a sad, and I know you guys will say it's my generation. Yeah, Jane Fonda was a few years older than me, but I didn't go along with that. And I've had young people yell at me and said, your generation, I want to be a wife and mother, and I have to be out here working. I said, no, you don't. And I said, I didn't agree with Jane Fonda. Now I hear women talking and saying point blank, oh, women should not vote. I never thought I'd hear that. I thought I was the only one that thought things like that. These are women that are a little younger than me. They're now coming out and said, yeah. You know? They don't think women should vote. And I can see why. I know the young ones would not agree with me with that. I understand that, but I remember, like I said, I have time in because I am 73. And for those of you who don't like it and say, oh, the old crows should just die off. Well, you know something? These old crows fought a war. These old crows made sure there was a foundation for you to step on when you stepped out of the house. And they gave you an education. They kept this country intact from socialism, Marxism, and communism so you could have a life in this country. Freedoms. So, for being an old crow, we paved a lot for you. But the thing I'm getting tickled pink about are all these Karens dealing with these police officers. I said, you have to give them your driver's license, registration, and insurance. You must do that. And if he tells you get out of the car, you have to get out of the car. You cannot question him. You cannot sit there and throw things at him. You cannot spit him. You cannot scratch or anything else. You must obey the law. And if you don't want him to search your car, say, all right, I'm getting out. Take your keys with you. Lock the car up. That's all you have to do. And you know when you 5-finger discount at a store and they catch you, running is stupid. Don't steal. That's what I call stealing, is 5-finger discounting. Just like every bathroom had a machine, I think it was a nickel for condoms. When the boys went to the bathroom, they have that sheepish grin on their look, on their face, you know, young men. And so if you, and I meant it was a big if you didn't get it, it's not free like it was today. Or women just spread their legs and say, oh, that's love. That's not love. That's lust, honey. Not love. He was responsible to make sure he had condoms. So if they, and it was a big if they did, there'd be no pregnancies. And if you think you can hide that you haven't had sex, you're very mistaken. They now know how to read. Because it seems that when you have sex with a guy, part of him actually hooks up to you. So you always find part of him in you. And another thing is if you have children and you abort them, part of the DNA of every child that you've ever had, aborted or so forth, will be in your body as well. So they can tell who you had, how many men you've had sex with, and they can also sit there and tell you how many abortions you've had. Here's a question. Think about it. A woman gets pregnant, okay? Let's say she's pregnant. You think about this. Come up with an answer on this one. She's allowed to go and kill that baby. Okay, Sandra, where'd you put the rubber? I thought I put it in here. Oh, here it is. Okay? She can go up, in some states say all the way up to full term, okay? That's murder, okay? That's unadulterated murder. But in the wound, that is the whole world of that baby. When it comes out, it comes into a new world. It comes into this world. The sperm, and I'm going to just put it out so then you'll see where I'm going to. The sperm lives in those testes. That's that sperm's whole life. That's his whole world. Okay? Does it mean that it's less than yours? No. The baby living in the wound, is it any less than you being on this earth, living in your world? No, it's not less. A woman can go for an abortion. Now, everybody knows I'm missing a part here. Okay, where did I put it? Well, I can't find it right now, so we can't put it all together yet. We'll have to wait. All right. She can murder that baby. The baby doesn't have a name, but God has given it a name. Now, I know for a fact, because I'm psychic, the soul enters the body before the baby is born. Okay? So, while you're carrying that child, the soul's there. It can come and go, but it's there. So, the soul is in that body, and you're going for an abortion, and that soul is hooked up to that body, living its life, and they go and tear it out. How would you like to be on this earth and Mother Earth decides she doesn't want you anymore, so she's going to tear you apart while you're alive? How would you feel? If you took a sperm that's alive and take him out of his world and tear him up inside of his life, his whole world, he is going to scream just as much as that baby screams in the womb, as much as you would scream if Mother Earth did it to you. They found out yogurt has life in it. When you eat yogurt, those enzymes are screaming because you're eating them, very much alive. They have found out lettuces and stuff, when you eat vegetables, they cry out because you're eating them. When you pick a piece of fruit off a plant and eat it, that's her babies. Her babies. She's giving life, and you're eating them. So you hear that crunch, you like that crunch of that apple? How do you know it's not that apple screaming because you're killing it? And all what you hear is that beautiful crunch. Or when you eat yogurt and it goes down and just so smooth as you swallow it. Think about it. And the plants are told and ordered by God to do that. That we are allowed to eat their fruits, their babies. Now, science has proven it. I saw the program on it. They showed the machines got sensitive enough that they could hear this. Do you think the food for dying for you to live? So I think of those mothers that are aborting these babies. And I could see them very easily in another life. They come through and they're in that baby's body, and their mother has them rip out so they could feel the pain of what they did to the baby that was inside of her. And there's no excuse for her to get pregnant. We've got condoms, IUDs, and we have birth control. So how come you're getting pregnant? Because it's too much trouble for a guy to spend a little bit of money to make sure he has a condom in his wallet? Think about it. Those are done. I said 28 and 2 minutes passed. Okay. All right, they're going to have to cool a bit before we can put the topping on them, which is going to be maple syrup, confectionery sugar, and nuts. Hi, Kobe. So there they are. We have to let them cool a bit before I can do anything. They're too hot. If we put it on, it's going to fold. But anyway, that's how I perceive things. That's how I perceive things. You could say I'm wrong. Fine. It's America. We all have different opinions. When I lost my baby, believe you me, I wanted her very, very badly. But there was some deformity in the baby and the body. The baby died and I wanted to abort it, which hurts a lot. Giving birth is easy. Having a miscarriage, oh my God, that is so bad. So I consider, that doesn't go all the way in there? I guess not. Okay. So that's how I see life. We now know plants feel. All of this is going for a while, but nobody wants to hear it. Everybody rather say, I hate this phrase, my body, my choice. I hate that phrase. Oh, no, I don't answer you either. That's a scam. Wouldn't answer that. Once those cool, we will take care of those. And we'll finish them up for tomorrow morning for breakfast. And I will, then when we're done with that, I'll close it off, this video. And then I will get to making that, get that crust going for the quiche tomorrow. But only if you join will be able to see that one. I didn't do my dishes. That's what got me backed up. Good afternoon, Pam. How are you doing? See, parents are afraid of BCW. You should do what my husband did. Tell him to fuck off and then sue him for $5 billion. You know? Maybe they'll get the message. Enough people sue him for $5 billion. They might get the message to leave parents alone and let them raise their children. I'm not saying that parents shouldn't punish their children. I'm not telling you to kill your children. But believe sometimes I thought my mother was going to kill me. You know, children make mistakes. They get stupid and stuff, but they need their parents' guidance. And talking is I hate Dr. Oz. He started all this crap. Man, all of us got beat. We knew we got hit. And we knew when we got hit too. The one who went gingerly down on the seat at school, his backside was sore. And the principal hit us, the teachers, everybody. I mean, and you know what? We grew up in we weren't criminals. We didn't assume anything, and our parents told us point blank, nothing's free in this world. You don't get a free ride. You want something, you're going to have to work for it. And for those of you that like socialism, let me tell you something about socialism and communism and Marxism. They'll use the people in power to help them get into power. Then when they get into power, you know who the first people they're going to kill? The people who help them get to power. You know why? because you would know how to play the game and get them back out of power. So they would have to kill a... You, Richie? I almost burnt my mother's home down. Hi, Davina? Shoot. I had a fire in my mother's kitchen and it was grease. A whipping? Oh my God. So I used the belt and the switch, and I did it. I whipped my children. Pam, you hoped it worked. Hi, Phyllis. You got that idea from spanking the gang to pack the patty. It didn't help. And with my husband, he whipped me twice. He whipped me the first time with my older son when I was carrying him, and he whipped me with our younger son when I was carrying him. I said, dang, their personalities were coming out and my backside was paying the price. And what's worse is their attitude was just like the attitude I had those 2 days. And my husband said, you know, Sandy, I thought I would never have to punish my children until they got older, but I started punishing them because they were coming through you so strong before they were even here. Man, at least he was kind enough to give me a pillow to sit on afterwards because it really hurt back there. Hi, Patty. So, I know about whippings. Some of the things I got whipped for, definitely for lying to my mother. Another time was getting on a cycle and leaving the school grounds. One time because my mother spent a whole week making a dress and I went on the slide and it tore the whole dress, and my mother got so mad with me. The principal said it's not her fault, but the whipping I got. When I left the school grounds, it was Dennis. I shouldn't have gotten on that cycle with him. I got hit and punched by my mother. These were the severe ones. When I gave her a side glance, I don't give a side glance. Never give a side glance to Mama. Be dead, you know? And one time she really hit me because I told her the truth. I told her the truth and she got really, really angry with me because I told her the truth. The angels had told me I had taken a nap, and the angels had told me to come to my mother and tell her to quit punishing me for telling the truth because she's only going to have me for a little while and then God's going to take me back. And so she's only got me for a little while. Appreciate the truth that she's getting. Well, I said, I woke up half asleep. I went and told my mother. Her friends were like, and I'm like 6 years old. Well, as soon as they left, my tail was up in the air, and my mother was giving him it. Okay, okay, hide go. Oh my goodness. So that was the biggest no-no, was to say that in front of my mother's friends. My mother felt that big. But I was only telling her what the angels said. Shortly after that, the angels said not to tell my mother any more information, they said, because she's going to use it against me. This is my mother. You know, you don't expect your mother to turn against you. My mother did as the angels had said. And I had told her when I woke up, she said, what'd you dream? I said, nothing. She said, you didn't have any more dreams? Nope. I was still dreaming. It's just that they told me not to tell her. next person I told all my dreams to was my husband. But he started getting gray hair in a hurry. Now you see why I'm gray. See, you know, all this stuff, you can gray in a hurry. Let's see, I want to get these off. I have to admit, these are going to be nice with scrambled eggs tomorrow morning. They smell so good, I want to start now, but I can't. So when she found out, she almost killed me. If my husband wasn't there, I would not be here today. He had to pull her off, and she had her hands on my throat. Man, she jumped clean across the table. He stopped her. I thought, you know, and all what I said was, I never quit dreaming. The angels told me you would betray me. And she knew exactly what I meant when I said that. Because she knew exactly what she had done, but she didn't know I knew it. Hi, Gold. Oh, we're having, this is for breakfast. Butter pecan scones with scrambled eggs tomorrow morning. And what I'm doing is I'm preparing them right now. So we're going to fix the frosting. How much do you want? I know what you want me to do. I just want to know how much. Okay, so we need the cream again. Okay. I thought we were done with that one. All right. When they say powdered sugar, they mean confectionery sugar. They're changing the names around, as long as you know. Let's see how much powdered sugar you want. 1 cup. I'm going to need a bigger cup. All right, so it's 1 cup powdered sugar, which is confectionery sugar. If nothing else, with all those whippings, I learned to take responsibility for my actions. And if I make a mistake, I'm quick to sit there and say, look, I don't know what you want. Would you mind explaining what you want? Because if I don't understand, I can't correct something, you know, if I've misinterpreted or something, you know. That's why I say I'm not the smartest person out there. I'll never say that, but I have common sense. And I do the best that I can. But I've been through a lot and I've seen a lot, so one thing young people cannot tell me is that I don't know this. Because if I lived through it, it's burnt in my head. And you know, a lot of people, especially Democrats, want Trump dead. Trump is using all the laws that Congress gave him. And if you don't know these laws, you can't argue with the man. They're trying to bring America back. America is not for foreigners. They are for the American people. These laws are for us, not them. When they become an American citizen and they pledge to this country and want to be part of this country, yes, then the laws apply to them. Until they become that American citizen, the laws, as far as I'm concerned, do not apply. How much maple syrup do you want? They want a tablespoon of maple syrup in here. Measuring spoon, Sandra, you just washed them. If I wanted to be a citizen of another country, I know that I would have to ask for asylum, And I would have to learn their laws, and then I have to swear to that government, and you know. Oh, I think it's going to be, hi Diplo, I think. Oh, you know how good this is going to be with maple syrup and heavy cream and confectionery sugar. All right. And how much do you want here? You want more? All right. Whisk Scones, whisk together. Powder sugar, a pinch of cinnamon, and stir sauce. I never heard of doing that in my whole life. 2 tablespoons of cream. They want it in a saucepan? I've never done this. This is new. Now I was always taught to put this in a bowl. They want it here. Okay, we can put it here. Put it in a small saucepan. They want us to cook this. Okay. All right, we got the maple syrup out. We need 2 tablespoons of heavy cream. I love they say whipping cream and heavy cream. They're really the same thing. Okay, what else? Now, I've never done this. This is going to be really different. 1/8 of salt and a pinch of cinnamon. Okay. All right, they want a pinch of cinnamon in this saucepan. We're going to cook this. I've never done this. This is new for me. They say a pinch, so decide how much you want. And they say 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Now the ketchup is going to change the color on this, so I'm going to have to use iodized salt. I don't want to change this color. They want us to put this on the stove, and we're going to cook it thick. That means I have to move you over here, and let's pray I don't throw you on the floor again. I should say the floor of the cabinet, or the countertop, whatever, in the bowl, wherever I throw you. This is sugar. This is going to burn if I'm not careful. So we have to wait for this to melt. And they said it's going to get thick. So we're going to find out. They want the sugar totally dissolved, so it's not going to be lumpy or anything. That's what. Thank you for the floating heart, Slim. This week I'm in one cookbook. This whole week, just about everything I want to make is in this one cookbook. I just opened it and said, yeah, we're making this. Yeah, we're making this. Yeah, we're making this. Only the quiche tomorrow is going to be in a different cookbook. But I'm making 2 quiches this week. And I did get the cube steaks to do caramelized onion, I think. onion, and what else was it? Oh, I can't remember. Damn it. Anyway, it's in the book. I am doing well, Slim. I just keep on going. But I do want to try these. These smell so good. The flavor is just unbelievable. It's already all over the kitchen. See, when you just have one person cook and nobody else cooks, when they start cooking, if they're making bread, everybody goes to the store and buys bread. When you have everybody cooking, it helps everybody have great ideas, you know, together to move around. Like one lady says she's going to try that champagne mac and cheese. Oh, she's going to love that. That is so good. Oh, I could make that again. I really could make that again. But this week we're going to learn how to make mashed potatoes with vegetables. So we've already done the sweet yams with the dried apples. That was very interesting dish. Almost. The reason they want you to really cook it so it's a little thicker before you drizzle it so it doesn't run all over it. Hi, Azia, I think, or Azias. I think I said that wrong. I said, you said it wrong. Yeah, I know I did. Okay, back to the scones over here. I'll let that sit a bit. Let's see. Asia, Asia, I think. Asia. Yes. How are you doing? I'm doing good. I'm so sorry I'm messing up your name. It's bigger when it needs more. Okay, that's it. That's how you do them. These are, what's the name of it? Butter pecan scones for breakfast tomorrow. That's when we're going to have these tomorrow morning. So these now have to cool. This is it. They are done. Just putting stuff up. That's it. They have to completely cool, and that's breakfast. So I'm going to let all of you go. You know how these come out. Why? Do you play a lot of music or something? No, this is my sanctuary, okay? I have to be honest with you. This is my sanctuary. I want to see how these come. That's going to be good for breakfast. That is really going to be a treat. I told my sons, you can play music, but you're not blaring it in the house. Your home has to be your sanctuary for your peace. Hi, yes, Asia. So I don't play a lot of music because being gifted, Taffy. What happens is if you have music blaring and you're psychic, it disrupts information and thoughts because you're so sensitive around everything. So I have to make my home quiet and peaceful for my sanity, if nothing else. So if you have somebody who's really quiet and stuff, that's usually why. And they pick up in the air because it's all around them. So when you blare that music, you're disrupting the air, unless it's very peaceful music. You know how you hear the boom boxes and you feel the pressure up against your body? That's what happens to people who are psychic in their heads. They can't think, everything just gets scattered. It's just like if you go to do a reading for somebody and they're lying to you. Your brain gets scrambled up there. It's like you start to see something that twists and it turns in all funny directions. That's because somebody's lying, trying to prevent you from seeing the truth. Yeah, I understand that. I told my sons, you can play the games. I don't want to hear that music blaring. I don't want to hear it. So they play it low, where they know what's going on, but it doesn't disrupt me. The quieter it is, the more in tune I am. That's why I'm really nervous about what's coming down. I've already seen it, and I was going to tell you about it, but it really, really upset me. And I know it wasn't me, but what I'm seeing is really bad, and I have to deal with it. I've seen it. Don't like it. And it's not just affecting me, but it affects so many people. And that's what bothers me so much about this whole thing. I've seen so much death and fighting. I've seen cannibalism. I've seen such hate. You know, and I sit there and say, how can you hate somebody so much? I might dislike people. I don't get along with my parents for what my mother did. But I didn't leave her because I hated her. I love my parents. I left her because I couldn't deal with the hurt, anymore. There was too much hurt. And I had to get away from the hurt. In order to get away from the hurt, I had to go to court and get a court order to get away from her because she wouldn't, that's how strong she held on. She said, no, you're not. You're going to listen to me. And I was a young adult. But because I was trained with that respect, I had that problem. Casey, I don't know what you've seen, but I know what I have seen. I've seen what I've seen through my lifetime, and I also see what's coming, and I also see the future, and I've also seen the past. If you don't like what I say, you can leave. I didn't ask you to stay on this channel. I don't ask anything from you except to be courteous on this channel. Hi, Mary. Hi, Mama. Yeah, I did. But it took a court order to get me out of it. That's how bad she was. Well, she held, my older brother is still a mama's boy. I'm doing well. Sibel and Mary, I'm doing very well. These are good. I'm just having the dressing and the nuts that fell on the counter, and these are really good. That's why I told my sons, if you want to stay home or leave, it's your choice. My husband and I never held them here, and we didn't run them out. We just told them it's your choice. We're very good about that. But I said, if you stay, you have to buy the food. I'll pay the rest of the bills, but you have to buy the food. You have to give me the money for the food. Sleeping. Taffy's sleeping. He's tired. Well, now you know what we're going to have for breakfast tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to have coffee with mine, or I'm going to sit there and have milk. Knowing me, probably milk. I want the protein. I only get 13 of the eggs, so I want to increase it past 20 so I can have the energy around the house to get what I have to get done in the morning. And maybe tomorrow I'll make some starch for the clothes for the lady who wants to know how to make starch. She wants to starch her husband's shirt, which I say is very good. A hanky that protects everything that's cotton. So maybe we'll get that done tomorrow. In between everything else. But to me, doing the wash isn't too much work. I don't mind. Now I found out that the Christians changed the Sabbath day. So now I don't know what the Sabbath day really is anymore. Jews say it's Sunday. Christians say it's Sunday. Saturday? Sunday? I don't know. And now the church is thinking about rewriting the Ten Commandments, God's laws, and making it universal. I'm saying, what in the name of God is going on? All of this is going on, and it's like, dang, how people going to stay with God if you keep on changing all the rules, and we're not even sure what the rules are, you know? No, you use starch, the potato, it's corn starch that we're going to have to use, so that's what we're going to use, and we're going to sit there. Mama, are you Jewish? That's why you say Saturday? It's 5:06 here, Asia. I don't know. I really don't know what day it is. They said there were only like 5,000 years. We're not even hundreds of billions of years, no. And finding trees that don't... Yeah, I know, Mama. I know he's coming back soon. I watch the Middle East, and I'm watching what's happening to my country. It said America will become an isolationist, all right? Another prophecy is that Europe will unite. Asia will go on the march as soon as the Euphrates River dries up, and will march through there. Russia and America will be very good friends. Europe will break away from America. Wall Street will leave New York City. I can't remember if it's the East Coast or the West Coast of America will drop into the ocean first. I can't remember. I think it's the West Coast, but don't hold me to it. I can't remember all of that prophecy. And what else? I'm trying to remember some of the prophecies. But I know that when America finishes dropping into the ocean, there's not going to be much of the country of America left. I don't know how much of Europe and stuff is going to fall. I'm more concerned about my country. And that's why God says, pray that it happens at night when families are together. You know, so they go together. I think, yeah, Atlantis is supposed to rise. Now on the Sphinx, they said there is a room in the Sphinx that will be done up in astrology, numerology, and prophecy, that will be a record from the beginning of time to the end. They also say that Mother Earth will be letting go of her secrets. In other words, finding things that prove the Bible right. And they also say that Mother Earth will wobble in the heavens like a drunkard. It is on Saturday. Okay, thank you, Mama. Let's see what else. I'm trying to think. I can't remember all the prophecies, but those are the main ones. But one thing that will be the triggering is America will become an isolation. But she's becoming that. Pull off the market. When it comes to 144,000, if you calculate that, that is probably 2 people out of each country, if that many. But from what I have read and understood, and I could be wrong, like I said, I am not perfect. I think what happens, the Plain Truth talked about it, and said that is the first group that goes. They don't suffer at all. They'll just leave the earth. Then there will be punishment and stuff, and then another group will cry out to God and ask for forgiveness, and then they will be taken, and then more punishments, and then there'll be another group that will be sitting there crying out, and finally they'll get all the way to the end, and those are the defiant ones, the demons and the evil worshippers who will sit there and say they don't care. They will never bend the knee, if you wish to say it that way, to God, and they are the ones that will then be put up and locked up. So, I might have to take that lid out. Okay. I'll catch it second time around. So that's some of the prophecies and some of the things that I have seen. Abraham Lincoln, he was a man. What do you want me to think about him? He did the right thing. He knew what was right and he did it. sometimes people fight against truth because they don't want to hear the truth. That's one thing I know. When somebody speaks the truth and you have so many people going against them, you know they're telling the truth. People don't want to hear it. People want to hear the good that they do, or they can do what they want and not answer. But when, and this is true, when you read the Bible, the prophets were not listened to. People would stone, they hated them because they told them the truth. When you speak the truth, you usually don't have a lot of friends. A lot of people don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear what they want to hear. But I always tell people, if you go to a good psychic, she or he is not going to tell you nice things. What you're going to get is everything that you have to correct. So if you're selfish, they're going to tell you about how you're being selfish, not all the good things. Because they are supposed to help guide you on your weaknesses so you can make them your strength. So if somebody says, you're such a good person, and I'd say, all right, cut the bullhorn. Met who? Met who? Vaughn. My son. My younger son. He knows I like to cook. He says, Mommy, you need some extra money. You need an extra income to help make ends meet. I said, I know. And he said, no, you really should, Mommy. You cook every day for us. You cook these meals and stuff. Open a YouTube channel. But it took me forever to do it. YouTube kept on asking me stupid questions. I said, I already answered the question. Why do you want me to answer it again? So after pitfalls and tripping through it. Yeah, Mama, that's true. So that's what started. My younger son started it. And it all started because I was on the bus looking at some recipes, And this woman sat next to me. And she was a principal. I didn't know. She told me. She said, I'd like you to come to my school and teach these girls how to cook. We were talking about how cooking is going down. A lot of people don't know the basics. They do all these instant foods. And we got into nutrition, talking about, she said, I want you to come to my school and teach. And I told her I couldn't. I couldn't teach because I don't have a teacher's license. And New York City is stringent about that. So when I sat dinner, my sons had normal hours at that time. I sat there and I said, you know the strangest thing happened to me? This woman who was a principal. And that's when my younger son said, Mommy, set up a YouTube channel. I said, I don't even know what a YouTube channel is. He had to explain it to me. He said, and you can teach people. You can teach them about the nutrition that you do know. You can teach them how to cook these recipes, how to understand the language, And I said, okay. Because, see, if I had the channel or not, what you see me doing now is what I'd be doing anyway. So, this is a way. Of course, I'd be talking to my cats instead of you. Fawn, you're just being stupid now. That's what got it started. So I figured I will. Everybody does fast cooking. 5 instant stuff, throws it together and says, look what I made. You didn't make anything. As far as I'm concerned, I would sit there and tell you, you didn't cook anything. You took a lot of shit and you put it together and said, look what I made. So, and people have asked, do you want to be an influencer? No. I just would like women to be better cooks so our country could be healthy. If people really thought about it, the health of a country depends upon the woman in the kitchen cooking. If she can't see that, she doesn't understand her worth. stay. Just stay there. I'm stacking dishes up. So, if she knew her worth and how important her job is, she wouldn't be so light about getting out there. She would let the man do what he has to do, and she would get in there and learn what she can do. Because our country and the health of this country rests on the people who cook, which are mostly the women. So you think about that. Children are sicker than they've ever been. They're not as beautiful, healthy, or strong as they used to be. They're blimps. I mean, you couldn't find a fat person before, but you can now. Just, go a block, and you'll find somebody overweight. The only people I saw overweight were usually women that were grandparents. For some strange reason, our bodies sort of don't end up. He didn't end racism. He ended the law and forced them to say no. By writing that amendment, Congress did set it up. And to pay back for what happened, he made sure that they got 40 acres and a mule that they helped free and beat the South. And that's where they got it. Oh, we're having scones for breakfast tomorrow. Pecan, cinnamon, pecan strudel. What is it? Butter pecan strudels for breakfast tomorrow. Oh, I'm cleaning my kitchen up now. So it's pecan, a butter pecan scones that we're having, like a strudel. And that's going to be for breakfast tomorrow morning with scrambled eggs. I just didn't want to do it last night. And when I get done cleaning this mess up, I'm going to have to get that pastry set, because it's got to sit overnight for the scones, for the quiche tomorrow that my son will be doing. He's going to actually be handling a pie crust tomorrow. Yeah. Congress was the one who wrote it, but he gave them a head start. 40 acres. 40 acres. That is enough to feed and care for a family and a mule to help do it. Break it down. He didn't need money. They needed a place. They had all the skills because they were slaves. They already knew how to work the land and all, so giving them that was like just giving them a lot of winning, because they knew exactly what they had to do. Now, what happened was, in the South, the ex-slaves, they sat there, they built communities up, and they thrived, and they were really thriving better than the whites in the South. So the South whites, the Confederates, wanted to keep slavery, but they couldn't have slavery, so what they did was they got the KKK, Ku Klux Klan, and they'd do hangings and stuff at night, trying to destroy these black towns and people who were doing better than the whites, and that was a problem. Hence, the federal government had to come in again, and this is why they had schools for blacks, and they had schools for whites in the South. And what happened was that when it was time for college, the college wouldn't accept the blacks. This is why civil rights came in, so they, if they were intelligent, they too could go. They didn't have to lower the standards because those children were smart. All you had to do was quit seeing the picture and what color they were and take them on their academic. You see, that's what the civil rights movement was about with Martin Luther King. In other words, do not judge me by the color of my skin. Judge me by my character. So your character, if you have a good character, there was no doors. The doors were open for you. But if you were going to be guttural and everything else, you weren't going to get very far. But if you sat there, you had the intelligent, and you moved forward, and you weren't a racist, you could end up going to college. And this is where we broke those barriers. But then it came to the point with DEI and all this other stuff. Well, we had to lower the standards for the blacks so they could get in. Then the Asians, and then the Mexicans, and then, the Indian. They're just so. No, it was for those who had this. It opened the door. If you have the intelligence, in other words, going to school, you have good grades, you could get in those colleges. Before, you couldn't, even if you're a straight A student, and the color of your skin would hold you back. But because of the civil rights in the 60s with Martin Luther King, that broke that barrier. But because Jane Fonda came in on the tailgate, and remember, Martin Luther King said point blank, women, stay out of this. So Martin Luther King, because Jane Fonda did what she did, businesses had to hire minorities, all right? So at least that would, for the ones who didn't have the college degrees to move forward, at least you'd have to hire so many so they could be able to be a middle income and work forward. And they figured in a couple of generations, or maybe one generation, their children would be going to college as well. So the whole plan, this was the whole plan set up. Very simple. But Jane Fonda came in. I said, like I said, she took her bra off and said, I'm not going to take it anymore. I just personally don't think she could cook. That was her whole problem. And so now, businesses had to hire minorities. Now, men are more difficult to control than women. So, big businesses said, we could kill two birds with one stone. All what we have to do is if we get a black and it's female, we get the black, and we get the female, we don't have to hire the men. Then what happens is the women are moving forward in the black community into the corporate world and stuff, and moving through. So they don't need their men, so they had the destruction of the black family. Then what happens is there's no father to keep the child in line. The mother's working. So then what happens? The child gets into gangs and stuff, and the next thing you know, we have what we have today. Children that don't have any, they hit their parents and everything else. All of this, all because a chain reaction that was supposed to go this way, because some people bent it and it went down this way, and now we have what we have today. And the Roe versus Wade, that woman was not pregnant. That was just to open up for the abortions, because up to that point, there were only 3 ways you would get an abortion: incest, rape, and the mother's health. If the mother's health was endangered, those were the only ways you could get an abortion. You see, but Jane Fonda wanted it cracked, wide open, with Roe versus Wade, and that's when all these, and this is where the women came and said, my body, my right. Well, yeah, I can see now why men don't want to marry a woman, because he sits there and says, I'm going to build up a business, savings, a home and all. I'll have a child or two, and then she's going to get tired of me, and then she's going to divorce me, and she's going to get half of everything that I have. So now the law has changed, starting to change now. Now judges are, I love this is so cool. Men, ace up on you on this one. What happened was a woman was making money, and she said she wanted alimony and child support, even, and they have the children 50-50, but while he has the children, he still has to give her alimony and the children child support. He's making $48,000. So the judge turned and asked her, how much do you make? She said 400. He said, 400 what? 400,000. He said, oh heck no, alimony stops instantaneously. Matter of fact, you are going to pay him alimony. The child support stops. When he has the children, he does not, he is responsible for the children. When you have the children, you're responsible. There'll be no more alimony, no more child support. See, smart men are getting really cool on this. So that's a good point there. So in other words, she's cannot sit there and divorce and walk away with everything and have him in poverty, and he's paying for those children and her. And if she never marries again, the alimony will be coming to her for the rest of her life. So she could end up part of his insurance, his Social Security. She's getting everything, and he is living in the poorhouse. So I can understand why men are afraid to marry women, because they said this is what she's going to do. So he's got to be very, very, very careful. And now that the young men that are raised just with women are becoming emotional, wimpy, and they don't know how to be men because now the men have been kicked out. They're thrown in prison. They're just thrown to the side. She won't let them see the children. All of this is going on. So these male children have no male idol to look up to. What is a man? His idol is his mother. His mother's emotional. She's erratic and all this. So he's like that. So when she comes at him, the instincts of being a man is he doesn't have to listen to her. Now, if his father was there, his father would slap him too and say, she's my wife, you will listen to your mother, and you're not going to override me. But because he's not there, he's feeling his oats as a man, he'll hit his mother. All of this is the breakup of the family. You don't have to like it, but all of this has happened in my lifetime. So I can talk about this. Hi, Randy. My husband was over there too. Yeah. So the women of my age, or maybe a little younger, are definitely older, and there aren't many of them around anymore, can agree with what I've talked about because this is history. They might not teach it, but we lived it, and that's why we can talk in that way, because you can, what the books say and what we experienced are two different things. Yeah, Fonda, don't like her. I hope she's dead on the other side, so she, yeah, okay. So a little lesson. So I know the young ones get upset. I am 73. How old are you, Mama? Oh, F-U-C-K, that LGBTQ crap. Okay? I have a gay son. I have one that's heterosexual, one's a gay. And I told him, don't bring that garbage in. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're my son first. You understand? What you do in the bed, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to see it, and I don't want it in my home. Fair enough. All right, I put it out there, point blank. I said, but you are my son first and foremost, my son. I cannot point the finger to you and say, you are going to hell, because I've got three pointing back at me. Oh, that's young. 62. Come on, isn't there anybody out there older than 73? Am I the oldest? Oh my goodness. So I can't point the finger. No, my baby. He is the one pretty cat. My oldest one is a heterosexual. That's right, Randy. Absolutely right. Yeah. But up here, I see children by themselves. In the summer, they're out. When I'm getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, they're coming in and still out on the street. My mother, if I was late and my brother locked me out, I better be on that porch waiting for my father to open the door to get the mail. I mean, to get the newspaper. I wasn't. Well, Randy, you're close to me, just 3 years behind me. Oh, yes, he is my son first and foremost. You know, he really is. He's my son. But I told my sons, I'm not going to run you out of the house. I'm not going to tell you you have to stay. But if you stay here, I want money for the food. And I have a few rules. Number one, don't bring people into my home because this is my sanctuary. And this is the one place when you leave work out there, you can come in here and know it's not going to follow you here. So this is our sanctuary. So, and I said, you're not bringing lovers here. I will not tolerate that. No, there's going to be none of that crap in this house. Okay, I'm very good about it. But he is my son first and foremost. And he said, really, Mommy? I said, I knew you were gay before your father knew. And I told your father, and your father said, are you sure? I said, yeah, he's going to be gay. I mean, we came home from the hospital. I took one look at him because somebody had molested him in the hospital. I was mad. That's my child. How dare you even think you have the right to touch my baby? Because I died, so he was born at the hospital. And yeah, I laid down the law. And I told my husband, I said, he's been molested at the hospital. He said, how can you tell? And I showed him. And I don't know how I knew. If you had asked me how I know, I could not tell you how I know, because I'd never seen anybody molested, but yet I knew he was molested. And I said, he will be gay. So my younger son, as he was growing up, he didn't want anybody to know. But his father knew, because I told his father, and I already knew. Well, he finally told his father, and he said, I feel comfortable telling Daddy that I am. He said, but please don't tell Mommy. Tony didn't say anything, but he didn't know that I had told Tony when he was a baby that he was going to be gay. So what happened is Tony had passed. He died. And Danielle would talk that he would go out, and he'd go out, or what he would do, but he left certain things vague, because I'm the one who's going to preach the Bible, and I'm into religion, not religion, I'm spiritual, so he knows there's a lot of that, God, Christ and stuff with me. And what happened was he was sweating this out, because he said, boy, if I tell Mama, I am out the door. Because all his friends say, if you tell your mother, she's going to throw your ass out. You'll never see her again. She'll lock you out. You'll never have a mother again. They're all like that. And she's from the South, Texas, the Bible Belt. Oh, hell, you don't have a fighting chance. Then finally one day, and I've been waiting for him to say something, right? And he finally came out at 30-something and told me. I said, I know. He said, how'd you know? I said, I've known for years. I knew when you were a baby. I knew you were molested in the hospital. I knew it was coming. You couldn't hide it. And I said, but I have one rule in my home. Stay away from my man if I get a boyfriend. He fell out laughing. He told his gay friends, and they said, I love your mother. She is so real, you know. I've met some of them. They're very nice. One was wearing he was doing a drag show. He had heels on. I said, you better be careful. You're going to end up with bunions on those. He said, I'll take care of them. Because my son, I went to go take a rugula. I was at a street fair, and I bought some rugulas, and I wanted to take one to my younger son. And I asked my older son, because he was with me, I said, do you know where this bar is where Daniel goes? He said, yes. I said, can you please take me there? And he did. And he said, but I'm going to wait outside. I said, Sean, you have to come inside, because I can't walk into a bar. Ladies don't walk into the bars. I need to be escorted. So I sat there, and he walked in, and I said, where's Danielle? And I knew who the bartender was, Juan. He took one look at me, and he said, you must be Danielle's mother. I said, I am. Where is he? He said, he stepped out for a minute. I said, okay. I said, I have something for him. He said, well, sit down. You can have some, what do you want to drink? And I said, water. He said, don't you want to drink? I said, no. Do you want me on the floor? Because I don't drink. You'll have to pick me up. So, anyway, he came, and I went to give him the regular, and he said, I don't want the regular. I'm just happy you're here, Mommy. Then he drugged me to every bar he went to, and introduced. I don't even remember half the people I met, and I hate to say that is so wrong, but he was just from one bar to. I was already tired. I had been up since 4 o'clock. We're going into nighttime. It's almost 8 o'clock at night, so you know I've got 16 hours, and it's going to take me 2 hours to get home. This was the one time I went into the city, so I was exhausted. And we finally said goodbye, and my older son said, I'm going to stay out, Mommy. I'm putting you on the express bus. I almost fell asleep on the express bus. And I came in. I didn't do anything. The cats were meow, meow. And I said, good night. I just left my clothes on and went to bed. I was exhausted, but I have told, he's told people sometimes, like I told him, you know what, Daniel, when you talk, I get this crazy image that you would like to be hung from the ceiling by your hands. And you put a pail so far, and you'd be having somebody, you from the back, and you'd want to see if you could hit the pail. He said, ooh, that sounds kinky. Oh, I said, oh, shut up. It probably was your idea that I read in my head. And he started laughing. Oh my God. He said, where'd you, I said, that was not my thought. That was yours. It was not my thought. I picked it up, and it's not the kind of thoughts I have in my head. And he fell out laughing. He said, but it does sound kinky. I said, shut up. How dare you? You know? But he's my son first. Does he give me hell? Of course he gives me hell. All children give mothers hell. I love him as much as I love the other one. They're both different as night and day. They argue all the time. I'm always at a mediator. I should put a sign up and say psychiatrist sitting in. You know, I'm open for business now and deal with them. But I love them both. They are as unique can be. They're not perfect by any means. They are not perfect. But they are my sons. They have their good points. They have their bad. And I'm glad they're my sons. Yeah, they do. You know, I had gray hair at 7. But let's say they can definitely bring it up a lot faster. Okay? But listen, I'm going to let all of you go. I want you to have a good evening. Have a blessed evening. Okay? Give God a call out and let him know that you care. Okay? So good night. Bye-bye.